Good morning to all of you. I welcome you to this session of programming in Python. In today's session, we'll be discussing about strings in Python, and we'll be also discussing about some popular Python IDEs. So let's begin with this part itself. Like, what is an IDE? Okay, so IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. Okay, and it refers to software which helps you with in your programming and gives you a large number of software development abilities, right? Like what it consists of is it consists of a source editor, okay, some built-in automation tools, and a debugger, like which can help you with you removing your errors. And most of the modern IDs have intelligent code completion. That means the moment you start typing something, it will offer you suggestions to finish that particular code, right? And it enables programmers to combine, the different aspects of writing a computer program. So whatever you require to write a computer program, it is, you are assisted by an IDE. And it increases your programming, productivity by introducing features like editing source code, building executables, and debugging, right? So remember, IDE is something which enhances your programming capability, programming productivity. Okay. Now, if I talk of Python, there are many IDEs which you can go in for, right? You can use many IDEs. I've not mentioned all. I've just picked up a sample list for you. The default is the IDLE, which is inbuilt in Python. You people have already been using this thing, right? And the next would be the PyCharm, very popular, Python IDE. Another one is Sublime Text 3. Then we have Visual Studio Code, and then we have Atom. Okay, there are others also. We have got a Jupyter Notebook also. There are many others. Okay, I just picked up a sample list which I found good that I should discuss with you that you can install on your systems. So I'll be discussing each one of them for you so that you can make your choice. If you ask my choice to, for Python, I would go in with PyCharm. That is the most, used Python IDE, PyCharm, right? You can go in for that. And some people also prefer this Jupyter Notebook, right? Others also are good. You can check, you can test. The features in all of them are good. But PyCharm would be a good option to install as an additional Python IDE. Now I'll discuss each one of them. IDLE stands for Integrated Development and Learning Environment. That is the default editor which accompanies Python. You people have already been using it, right? Now this is suitable for beginner level developers. Like if you're learning Python, you started learning coding in Python, then you can start with IDLE, okay? And this tool can be used on Mac operating system, Windows, as well as Linux. It is free of cost, of course. Like Python itself is a, open source, so you can use it without taking any license to run it. And the notable features of your IDLE are it can search for multiple files for you. It has got an interactive interpreter with syntax highlighting and error and IO messages. You've already seen that while you're working on IDLE, that there is an interactive interpreter which suggests, if something goes wrong, it suggests you, right? And then there is smart indenting. You've seen when you write your script, Python scripts, the moment you use some conditional like if or some for loop, and automatic indenting is there, right? And some basic text editor features are also there. And it has got a very capable debugger also, right? So this is about ideally something that you people have already been using, right? Then comes this PyCharm, right? This PyCharm is a very widely used Python IDE, which has been created by JetBrains, right? This is suitable for professional developers and facilitates the development of large Python projects. So remember, while you are learning Python initially, then you can work with IDLE like you people are doing right now. But once you go into the project development, whether small or large, then it is recommended that you pick up a good IDE, and PyCharm should be one of it, right? Now it comes in two flavors. One is the community edition, which is free. One is the professional edition, which requires a license. You need to pay something for it to use it, right? Like for your case, you can go in with this community edition. It has got, almost all the features which you require to work with your large Python projects. Then the most notable features of PyCharm, it has got support for JavaScript, CSS and TypeScript. It has got smart code navigation. It has got quick and safe code refactoring, and it supports features like accessing databases directly from the IDE. So once you start using PyCharm, you will understand the meaning of all those things. Like this would be there, JavaScript, CSS, and TypeScript, and you can navigate through your code very smartly, right? And plus a host of other features, which when you install PyCharm and explore, you will find it very good. Next is Sublime Text 3. Okay, it's a very popular code editor, and it supports many languages, including Python. It is highly customizable and offers fast development speeds and reliability. It is again free. You can use it free of cost. No need to take any license. And the features you can see, syntax highlighting is there. Custom user commands are there for IDE. Efficient project directory management is there, and additional packages can be used, for scientific Python development. So this is another good editor IDE that you can use for Python. Next is the Visual Studio Code. This Visual Studio Code is an open source IDE created by Microsoft, right? So it is a Microsoft product, right? And it finds great use for Python development. So you will see a lot of people using this Visual Studio Code, or we call it the VS Code, right? And this VS Code is lightweight. It's very easy to install, doesn't take much of your memory resources. And it comes with the powerful features that only some of the paid IDEs offer. So it is good. Like it's comparable to PyCharm. People prefer PyCharm, but many people use this Visual Studio Code also, right? Now the notable features of this VS Code are, it is one of the best smart code completion. Okay, then Git integration. So you understand GitHub, right? For your projects, code debugging within the editor. Okay, and it provides an extension to add additional features like code linting, themes, and other services. So you can also explore this along with PyCharm. So I can suggest PyCharm number 1. Number 2, you can go with this VS Code. Next one is the Atom. Okay, Atom IDE. It is an open source code editor by GitHub and supports Python development, right? It is similar to Sublime Text and provides the same features with emphasis on speed and usability. Again, free of cost, supports a large number of plugins, smart auto completion. Just like other IDEs, it also gives you similar features, okay, and support for cross-platform development also. So this is regarding the IDEs which you can use. Like you people have been working only with the IDE, the default editor of Python. Now you can go ahead and install any one of these that you find good. I would recommend PyCharm or Visual Studio Code, or some people also go in for Jupyter Notebook, right? So you can just test these. Next, I will install one of these for you. I'll install PyCharm for you. So obviously for that, I will download it. So what you need to do is simply, you can just write PyCharm download, right? You can write PyCharm download, and then from the JetBrains side, okay, you can just start on this, click on this link, okay, and once it's open, you can see, that you can download the community edition of PyCharm. Okay, some problem here, yeah. So you see there are two variations for Windows. There is support for Mac also, for Linux also. So whatever OS you are using, you can just see what you need. And the professional one is obviously paid, so it is showing some free trial here. So we'll go in with the community edition, right? So I'm going to download it. So the download will start soon. So waiting for the download to start. It will take some time, about 300 odd MB files. So it will take some time. Yeah, 360 MB. It is downloading here. The download is almost finished. Once it finishes, we'll just click on this executable file to start the installation process. Right. So I've just opened it. I've clicked on it to start the installation process. And pretty soon the installation will begin. So we'll click on run, okay, to start this PyCharm installation, PyCharm IDE installation. So installation has begun. It will take some time to start. Okay, let's see if I remember the password correctly. Okay. So let's install this PyCharm. We missed the password maybe. So let's see the system password here. Right. So now the installation will begin. Just need to click on some screens. See, this is the path where the folder where this PyCharm would be installed. So you can just create some this thing and right. You can do all the things that I am doing here, and then you can start installing PyCharm. It will take some time to install, 2 to 3 minutes, depending on your system speed. So while it is installing, let's just start the Python session here so that we can start working with our strings, right? So for that, I'll just open up the relevant part of my PPT to go in with strings. Right. Okay. So this is what we discussed in strings. We had some initial discussion on strings, right? So strings can be initiated by using the string class. They can also be initiated just by enclosing a string in single, double, or triple quotes. And strings are immutable in Python. That means you cannot change a string. Once you create it, it cannot be changed. If you need to make a variation to it, you can do it in another string, right? So let's see here. You can use something like s is equal to string, and you can give some string here. Okay, so this way you create a string using the constructor of the string class. And if you see the type here, it would be class string, right? Then strings are immutable in Python. So let's try to vary this string here. You already learned in lists the indexing and the slicing. That is similar in strings here also. So if I look for the index here, s of 0 would be the first character. So indexing, the first index is 0, and then they keep on increasing by 1. Similarly, if you go from the reverse direction, this is the last index is -1, next is -2, and so on. So if I look for s of -1, you'll see it's g. If I look for s of -2, you'll see it's n, and so on. Okay, so this is regarding the string indexing, starting from 0 in the forward direction and starting from -1 in the reverse direction, right? So let's look at our installation. It's complete. Okay, so I'll do the reboot later on, right? So I'll just finish the installation here. Okay, so before actually we move forward in this direction, let's start PyCharm and see how it looks like. Okay, and once you've installed, or whether you're using PyCharm or VS Code editor, right? So you can click on the relevant things. Now this PyCharm Community Edition to 2021.3 is there, right? It's created by JetBrains, of course. And then you can skip this tour, I think. Okay, so this is how your screen would look like. Okay, and then you can start with a new project here. Okay, so maybe you can give it name as a Python project. Okay, so to start this, right, and then you can open up new files here. I think all of you know how to use that, right? You have the initial, the part where you can write the code, and then the output is there in the bottom. So once you start using it, you will understand how to manage your files, okay, and how to call modules from other modules. So you can create a full-fledged project here in this PyCharm, right? So details once you come back here, and whether you work with PyCharm or VS Code editor or with Jupyter Notebook, you know, I leave it to you, right? So this was regarding the installation of PyCharm, right? Then strings are immutable. So let's first go through the basics, and then maybe I can discuss the immutability part and what it means. Then if I look at a slice of a string, okay, so if I write something like 2:5, okay, that would mean again that this is the starting index, that is 2. This is the ending index, that is 5. The ending index should not be included, right? So if I look at this slice, say this would mean that I need to display the characters starting from index 2 going on till index 5, but index 5 is not included, and it would increase the characters by 1 index. So you can see this in this string here, this P is 0, R is 1, this is index 2. So index 2, index 3, index 4, OGE, that's what is displayed. And then we can add an additional step size here. So I can just add something like 2,19, okay, or maybe some 2,12, 2, okay. So that would mean starting from second index, once again, starting with O, okay, and increasing by 2, then after second, the fourth index. So we'll have O, then we'll have E, and so on. So you can see the output here. This would be the output. And if I exceed this index, okay, sometimes you may wish to try this, okay. So whether writing like this would give an error, because we see that there are not many, you know, characters here. So this upper part could be anything, okay. That would mean if it exceeds the total number of characters, then all the characters are printed. It won't give you an error, right? It would give you the same output, right? But if you write a starting index that is missing, let's see what happens there. So maybe I can write here 22, then 32, right? So this would give you a blank this thing, because no characters are there, no error, but it won't show you any output. So this is regarding the slices. So let's look at the negative slice now. So if I just try to print here -1 colon, say -4, that's it. Okay. Again, this wouldn't print anything, because suggesting going from -1 and going back to -4, but you are not mentioning the step size here. So it takes a step size as +1. Okay. So just look at this, no output again here. So if you need to really go in a reverse direction, you must give the step size as -1. Okay. So you can see starting from -1 going on till -4 and in the reverse direction. So this is -1, -2, -3. -4 is not included as usual. Okay. Then you can see, like we saw in lists, a few variations of this. If I just write like this would mean the entire string. If I write like this, okay, this would mean the entire string excluding the first character, because the ending index is not included. Okay. So excluding the first character, and then maybe you can write something like this. Okay, this would be the reverse, string in reverse. So you can just see all these indexes and slices. Now coming to the immutability part, that strings are immutable. Okay, so let me write this string here. Okay, we'll use it for other things also. Say programming in Python, I've taken this string. And if I look here, what is S4? It's R. And if I try to assign some new character to the position S4, say I assign T here, then you will see the message that the string object does not support item assignment. That means strings are immutable. You cannot change a string. Okay. Maybe you can create another string from the existing string. That's okay. But you cannot change an already created string. You cannot alter it, right? Then if two strings are having similar content, another thing as regards to the memory management in strings, if I take a string as say program, I take another string as again the same string. Okay, so two strings having similar content. So if you check them for equivalence, okay, by using this, it will tell you that's true. Okay, and if you check it like this is again true. So two strings having the similar content, they are the same memory object. They refer to the same memory object, right? So you can see this by checking the ID, memory ID for both these strings, it would be the same. Okay. So we saw it when we were discussing lists that it is different in lists. Okay. Just a quick recap here for you guys. Say if we take a list like this, and if we take another list, similar one, okay, then obviously this would be true, C equal to D. But if I say with their memory this thing, then that would be false. Even though two lists may have similar content, but they will point to different memory objects. Okay, and you can look at their IDs also for the same. They'll have different IDs. Okay, so remember this. And this is because lists are mutable, you can alter them, and strings are immutable. That's why we are facing this type of memory management for strings and lists, right? So let's now see the other concepts in strings. There are some inbuilt functions. The len, min, max function. I think by name they are clear that len would give you the length of the string, including the blank spaces or any special characters. Min and max would give you the minimum and the maximum value of the characters in the string, right? Then we have discussed index operator. Now let's see traversing a string with for and while loop. We'll discuss this. We have already discussed string slicing and step size. And then also have a look at string operators plus star and in, and then some string functions and other functions we'll discuss, right? So let's come to ideally again. And let's see if we have the string S. Okay, it's Ajay. If we go in for its length, it would be 4. Let me take another string to tell you that the blank is counted as a character. So if I go in for the length of this string, it would be 11. So blank is also counted, right? And then if I go in for the min S, okay, that should be S, I think. That's a blank, right? So blank is got, okay, blank. Let's see the index of blank. Maybe it's higher. Let's just check it. Say S is equal to something like this. And let's see. Yeah, min would be blank, right? Min of S. Okay, and max would be E, right? Sorry, max of S would be this. So blank is, I think, 32, I suppose, right? If we include some numbers here, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So obviously the ASCII codes, they vary from here. One is having the ASCII code as 48, then 49, so on. Blank is having 32, I suppose. Okay, so if I go in for min, okay, then it will say 1. If I go in for max, it will tell you 9. Okay, so based on the ASCII characters in the string, okay. So here if I go for a max here, it would be S. Similarly, I can take another example. I can take string like this. Okay, so if I go in for a min, it would be capital A. Okay, and if I go in for a max, it would be lowercase a, because capital A is the ASCII code 65 and lowercase a has got a ASCII code 97, right? Then the star operator, I can write here S star 2. Okay, you can just see S star 10. Okay, and if you need to concatenate two strings, then you can use the plus, right? So if we have S as this and say D as this, okay, then S plus D would be something like this. Okay, then yeah, the traversal part. Okay, let's say we have a string here, right? To traverse it, simply you can just take some variable which passes through each character. So I can take for I in S. Okay. In this case, now I can visit each and every element of S starting from index 0. Okay. And I can use print I directly here, right? And you need to press enter twice here. I've told you, like many people, they may find it difficult using it for the first time. They just enter once, so nothing happens. So I press enter twice here in case of for loops, right? And then another way would be by using the while loop. So while loop, you understand that you need to first initialize some variable. You can initialize a variable as I, and then you can give some condition here while I is less than the length of S, something like this. Then put a colon here. You see the automatic indent, and what you can do here is you can print S of I. Okay, because now you're not parsing I through anything. You just running a loop which runs for whatever is the length of the string, and then you print the each and every character. Remember that you need to do something like this, right? I is equal to I plus 1. Same way it will, print all the characters. So this is how you can traverse a string using a for loop and a while loop, right? And then yeah, we have done with all these things. Let's move ahead. Now let's work with these functions, right? The functions that we have. So let's work first with the bool string function. Bool string functions would mean which return Boolean value. So if you use any of these functions, okay, is alnum, is alpha, is digit, is space, is upper, is lower, they will return either a true or a false value. And then the substring functions, so if you use any one of them, starts with, ends with, okay, they'll be returning something. Okay, they'll be picking up something from your string. They may return a Boolean value, they may return an integer value, right? Then string conversion functions. So if you need to convert a string into capitals or lower or uppercase or title case or swap case, or if you need to replace a string, right, you use these string conversion functions. Then if you want to strip some unwanted characters from a string, so if you want to remove the leading white spaces, then L strip, then trailing R strip, and leading as well as trailing spaces, then strip. And if you want to justify a string either towards the left or the right or the center, then you can use these methods or functions rjust, ljust, and center. Okay, so I'll work with each one of them. And if you need to discuss anything, you can just discuss with me in the discussion section, right? So I'm moving to these bool string functions first. Is alnum, is alpha, and all, right? Let's come to the IDE here. Let's take a string. I'll take small examples. Say S is equal to. So if I use this with this alnum, this would give me a false value. Why false value? Because when I say alnum, it means that in the string either we should have alphabets or numerics, right? So either alphabets from A to Z, lowercase, uppercase, or digits from 0 to 9. We do have a space here, right? So that's why this method function will return a false value. If I just modify this string, if I just remove this, now it contains alphabets, right? So this will give you a true value now. Okay. Similarly, if I add some digits here, okay, again this will give you a true value. So this is how alnum works. On similar ways, you can look for the other methods also. You can go in with is alpha, right? So right now it is having digits also. This will give you a false value. Is alpha means there should only be alphabets in your string. So I can just alter it here. Right. So now if I check is alpha, this would give me a true value. Similar is your usage of other functions. If I go in with is space, so it would be false because there are characters in there. So I'll just change S here and let's use with a blank one. Okay, an empty string. Let's see what it tells. False because there is no space, right? Now let me put one space here. Okay, and use this function. It's true. Let me put two spaces and let's see what it returns. Right. So if there is space or spaces in your string, then is space returns a true value, otherwise a false value. Similar would be your is digit. Okay, so let's check is digit here. Is digit, right? So it would give you false, of course. And then I can just put in some digits here. If I put all the digits, then this will give you a true value. If I put something else also, then obviously this will give you a false value, right? So this is regarding this. So is upper, is lower, you can check. There's no problem. You can use this same string here and check for is lower. Okay, so you have digits in it, so it will always give you false. So if it is having alphabets only, then it can check for lower and uppercase. So let's modify this. So I can write something like ABC here. So now if I use it, it will give us true. And if I use for the same string, I use here upper, right? If I use upper here, then it will give me false. So this is how you can understand these bool string functions returning true or false for the different functions. Next is substring functions. So let's check all these substring functions. Starts with, ends with find, rfind, and count. Okay. Let me just start a fresh IDE for you. Fresh IDE session on a blank screen, sort of. Right. Let's take a string here. Say s is equal to. I've taken this string here, and let's use this s dot starts with, say, a. Okay, so I'm saying this string s starts with a, which is false, of course. You know that it starts with a capital A, right? If I use it again here and use this, it will give me true. Similar is your ends with. So whether the string ends with the given character in the argument, according to that it will give true or false. So if I give it here, it will give you true. If I give some other character, like the string is not ending with R, so it will give you false. Then next is find. Okay, so let's check this, how we can use this find. So I can write here s dot find, right? And let's find the character A. So now you see A is at multiple places. A is here also, A is here also, right? A is here also, right? So it will find the first occurrence. So that is at index 2. Okay. So it will give you the index of the first occurrence of the string, that is a substring in the given string, right? So if I can also write something like, say, see, there is a substring AY. Okay. There is a substring AR. Okay. Let me look for this substring AR. Okay. Let's look for the substring AR. So obviously AR starts from this index A. So it is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So it will give you 7. That means you can give a string here also, a character also. Okay. So character and string is, interchangeable in Python. We mean it the same thing, right? So find would be finding the first occurrence of the given string or a substring from the given string, right? And if it does not occur, then what? Let's see. S dot find should return some -1 sort of thing. Say I can write here Z, right? So if the index is not found, then -1 is returned. Now similar to your find is rfind. Okay, so if you look at this function here, rfind, this is reverse find, right? Okay, let's go and look here. Say s dot rfind. I'll take this A only. Okay, so now it will look for the first occurrence of A. It will give you again the index of A. Index starting from the forward direction, but looking it in the reverse direction. So obviously this A comes here, right? So the answer won't be -1. Answer would be whatever this A is index, this A is having in the forward direction. So you can count. This is 4, then blank is 5, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. Or the index would be 10, I suppose. Yeah. Okay. So 11th position from the beginning. It looks from the reverse. Okay. rfind means it looks from the reverse. So A is here. So whatever index it is starting from the forward direction is given here. So s dot rfind is A is 10. Okay. Similarly, let's take another example, s dot r find s. Okay. So s is like, okay, I can just take another variation here. I won't use this. Let's use this, because this, you know what the answer would be. I'll just change it here. So you can write something like this, and I'll just change this s also. Okay. Now, if I look for, say, s dot r find this s. Okay. So we have, starting from the reverse, it will start looking for the letter s, and it would find it here. Okay. One s is here, one s is here. Okay. So we get the index of this starting from forward direction. That would be 4 and 6, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 13 would be the answer here, right? That is how we look for this r find. Then another function is count. So it will simply count the occurrences of the given string in the string that we are targeting. So if I look for a here, okay, s dot count a. So it is once, twice, thrice, three times, right? Count is 3. Okay. Similarly, if I look for s dot count s, it would be 2. And if we don't have a count, then obviously the answer would be 0. So z does not occur in the string, so the answer is 0. Right. Next, we have the string conversion functions. So capitalize, lower, upper. So the usage is simple, of course, for these. So let's take this string here. S is equal to, let's give this string, say Ajay Sharma, right? And if I just write here, okay, it was Z here. Yeah. So capitalize with a Z. So you can see that the first character is capitalized. Okay. You can see the outcome of this. Okay. Then we can go with the S dot lower. You can see the effect, S dot upper. You see the string is just being displayed. These are just returning some values, displaying values. The string actually remains the same. Remember this. The string remains the same, only that they are just giving some output if you represent the strings using any of these functions, right? Then we have swap case and replace. Okay, let's see the swap case part. S dot swap case. Okay, so it is like toggle, the lowercase become uppercase and the uppercase become lowercase. To take the last example in this, the replace function, I'll take another string here. So something like, I have 2 chocolates, 2 ice creams, and 2 sodas. This is my string, right? So if I just write here s dot replace, this replace method or function can have 2 arguments and 3 arguments. So mandatory 2 and additional 3 can also be given. 2 plus 1, right? How we can see here, I can write here the old string that I want to replace with the new string that I want to replace. Okay. So if you look at the output here, it will display I have 3 chocolates, 3 ice creams, and 3 sodas, right? So every occurrence of the first string is replaced by the second string. This is when you use replace with 2 arguments. Let's now use this replace with 3 arguments. Now I say replace the first 2 occurrences. Okay. See the output now. Okay. So I hope you understand the meaning of the third argument, which is the additional one. So if you don't mention the third argument, then every occurrence of the first string or the old string is, replaced by the new string. And if you give how many replacements, you can mention here. This is how we have this replace function working. Next is stripping unwanted characters. So L strip and R strip and center. Okay, so let's just use them. Say I take a string here, a is equal to, I give a few spaces here, then I write this, then I give a space between Ajay and Sharma, and then I give a few spaces here. This is my string, right? A is equal to, with leading and trailing spaces and spaces in between also. Let me put some more spaces here so that there are no doubts. Let me put like this. Okay. Now if I use a dot l strip, okay, then this will just remove these spaces here before a. That's it. Okay. No other space is touched, right? If I use a dot r strip, okay, then obviously the spaces after Sharma are moved. Can you look? Okay. And if I use simply a dot strip, then the leading, that is here, and the trailing spaces. The spaces within a string are never touched because they are a part of the string. Remember this. L strip, R strip, and strip, right? Similarly, let's use this last methods now, the R just, L just, and center, right? So you've already used them in other programming languages. Let's see how we can use it here. Say a is equal to, I'll just use a string, say Ajay Sharma, right? And I can use here a dot, say L just, okay? And I give some value here, the width. So I'm saying in print the string a in a total width of 15, right? And make it left justified. That means spaces at the end. Okay, so let's have a look. See, it is printed here. Okay, it is using 11 characters and there are 4 trailing spaces. So this is a left justified output in which the output is inclined towards the left and there are trailing spaces. If I use the same with rjust, I'll have leading spaces. You can see that. How many leading spaces? Whatever are left after you subtract, this string length from 50, right? And if you go in with the center, okay, with a width of 15, okay, so 11 are used by this string, 4 are left, so 2 towards the left and 2 towards the right. This is what centering means. And if there is a mismatch like this, then you can see more spaces towards the right. Okay, we have got total 5 spaces left after this string Ajay Sharma is printed. So 2 towards the left and 3 towards the right. Okay, this is how we discuss this rjust, ljust, and center. Okay, so I think that is the end of today's lecture. And in today's lecture, we have discussed about installation of the various IDEs of Python. Then we have also discussed about strings, their methods, traversing, string slicing. In our next section with discussion with you, I'll be discussing about some programs based on strings and lists, and then we'll start with functions. Till then, keep watching my videos. Thank you very much.